Hi there, Michael here. One of the most common questions I get goes something like this. I want to record spatial audio out in the field, but most good immersive audio microphones are very expensive. Can you make a recommendation about what I should invest in? Now, I'm not really a hardware guy, so what I usually do in these cases is redirect them to a friend on our Discord server, Thorsten Michels. In our Discord, Thorsten is mainly known for building his own Ambisonics microphones on a budget. He's sort of the maker in our community. Thorsten has recently decided to make his knowledge more accessible to the public, so I felt it is time to bring him on this channel. In the following conversation, we talk about his approach to immersive audio, how you can build your own immersive microphone without breaking the bank, and how you can access the blueprints for his microphone creations. This is really a fun one. So without further ado, let's turn it over to Thorsten. Thorsten, first of all, thank you very much for coming on to my channel. You have been a very active member on our Discord server, and for those of you who are watching, you should definitely join the Discord server. A lot of really interesting people there. And one thing that really stands out in your contributions is that you have a substantial experience as a maker of immersive audio recording equipment. And by maker, I mean actually building Ambisonics microphones and different microphones yourself that are a lot less expensive than the kind of high-end Ambisonics microphones that are out there. So whenever somebody approaches me with a question like, I'd like to get into recording Ambisonics, but I don't have the resources to buy a high-quality microphone, and I actually get those surprisingly often. That's actually one of the most commonly asked questions that I get. I usually point them in your direction. So I thought it makes sense to actually have you on a video at some point. And this is what we want to talk about today. And I know that you have some ideas on how actually to make your knowledge a little bit more accessible than it already is. But before we get into that, let's maybe start with an introduction. Thorsten, who are you? What do you do? Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so thanks a lot for having me. And yeah, as you already said, my name is Thorsten Michels, and I'm working in sound in more than 40 years now, I think, and with changing intensities. Sometimes I do it for a living, and sometimes I do it as a hobby. Currently, it's a phase of doing it as a hobby, because I'm working as an IT specialist, and that leaves a little bit limited time to tinker around with the Ambisonic things. And I'm living in Germany, close to the Ruhrgebiet. It's a main industry area in the upper north. And what else to say? And I'm made a living as a live sound engineer with several shows like musicals and product presentations and fairs, and also I love the rock concerts. So that's what we do for soul food, and the other things we did for buying regular food. So
that's interesting. Kind of one thing that kind of really stands out to me is sort of the even though you are considering yourself as somebody who kind of works in that at the moment, at least more as a hobbyist, your knowledge is actually at a very high professional level. And that's actually something that really is really interesting. I think a lot of people can actually benefit from that. Now, you said that even though you have worked in audio for over 40 years, the Ambisonics started more recently during COVID. So what was it about that time that made you enter that journey?
It wasn't a coincidence. Somehow I joined. I was looking for something on the internet, and all of a sudden I came across the word Ambisonic. I said, "Hey, what's that?" And then I started digging and doing a little research, and it came out that it is surround. Making surround recordings with just a little few things. It's not like having 20, 30 microphones. Just to get started with only 4 microphones, and that was very impressive. And then when I looking for more information, I came across this what I call the Ambisonic Bible from Franz Zotter and Matthias Frank from the IEM in Graz. And when I started reading that book, and I found out, a lot of matrices there, and I discovered that I forgot more than I ever knew about it. And I said, okay, a lot of pictures in there and some explaining text. It's enough to get me started. And then I take my microphones and a lot of other things, cables, and also there's little pipes and nuts and screws and whatever is needed, and start building my first Ambisonic microphone system. And I use the well-known studio vocal microphones, and and put them together in the X, Y, and Z axis, and also for the W for world. And there was the plugin suite at the IEM, and I discovered that. And that was the first time I made a recording. I just put it in somewhere in my house and start walking around and moving up and down a little bit. And then later on, when I listened into that recording, I was it's so impressive. You can hear when you're going up and down and you're going back and forth and around, and it was so amazing. I was really, I was fascinated.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. And by the way, Franz Zotter comes up a lot. So at some point, I probably kind of need to talk to him too. It's very interesting, sort of that a lot of research that came out of that particular group. And you're absolutely right that the beauty of Ambisonics, and actually I approached it from a mathematical perspective. My primary education is in mathematics, so kind of it is Ambisonics is something that's extremely beautiful from a mathematical perspective. You already mentioned that you were talking about 4 microphones. Now, most people, when they think about Ambisonics, they think about a microphone that is very expensive, that they have to pay. And we're not going to talk too much about the actual brand names in this podcast, because we are actually talking about how to build your own, and we wanted to avoid that there are any trademark issues. But people who are working in Ambisonics know that there are well-known Ambisonics microphones that are very expensive. And that essentially is something that is usually not that accessible to the average consumer. It's not accessible. I have a lot of students, for example, that contact me. It's not accessible to students. It's not accessible to hobbyists. I'm kind of curious how this budget constraint fueled your creativity and your hands-on approach to that particular technology.
So in the beginning, I was looking at this certain solutions from the well-known vendors, and when I looked at the price tag, I said, "Hey, that's the ordering number," and I said, "No, that's not within my free time budget." But I also already had some microphones from former days when I was working as a sound engineer. I said, "Hey, why buy something if you have it already?" And that is when I bought some additional hardware that is usually used by the lighting guys and photographers, and that came in pretty handy. It really fits together, and it looked very nice with a red ball in the middle. It's kind of an eye catcher, and then put together all these regular cardioids or a figure of 8 microphones and omnis that I have in my suitcase, microphone suitcase, and I start building it, and I discovered, hey, that also sounds pretty good, also kind of great, and so to say. And I don't have to spend all that money for buying a system. I have no idea how it will sound, and it was pretty hard to get some sound examples. 5 years ago, it was almost impossible to get any really good sound examples, and I was not sure if that would be something that will interest me for a longer time. So I started building all these microphone systems by myself, and I found out, hey, if you're on a budget, or if you're a student or a hobbyist with just a limited budget, there are a lot of opportunities out there buying a regular microphone, small diaphragm condenser microphones. You can get for less than $100 a piece. you can build a system for 500 US dollar, and that is pretty good, actually. It's, of course, it's not as good as the professional ones, yes, but not that bad either. So to get you started, to whet your appetite, to get you in the first, enable you to make your first recording, it's enough. It's good enough. And when I've looked around, and nobody else is doing this, and I said, "Why? That's a pity, because if you know how microphones work and how they are built inside, and how these patterns of the microphones are built, and if you knew to do things right, you can save a lot of money and also have a lot of fun." And sometimes it's like discovering new worlds. Well,
Yeah, and kind of I think the interesting thing is, and that I think is something that is particularly important for people who are in education, for example, is the fact that because you're building it yourself, you actually can experiment with different setups and kind of try new things. So if you're purchasing an Ambisonics microphone, and kind of there are microphones that are not that expensive, but they're usually also not that good. So you're really talking about the high-end microphones here.
Yes.
Then you essentially get the microphone array in that particular way with that particular software, and you don't really have a lot of possibilities to play around with that. So that's really interesting to kind of use that approach, that maker approach, in order to make something that maybe nobody made before. Now, you already mentioned that, and we can actually talk about the things that you actually used. So kind of there was like you talked about the Manfrotto kind of lightning kit, where you essentially used that and repurposed that in order to use regular condenser microphones, or kind of regular microphones that are less expensive, in order to build your own microphone array that you can then use as an Ambisonics microphone, and we are going to kind of use a couple of images that you provided as backdrop, so that people actually see what we are talking about.
Yeah, it's like a picture tells more than 1,000 words.
Yeah, exactly. And for those of you who are interested, for those of you out there who are interested, we actually at the end of the episode, we are going to talk a little bit about where you can actually get all that information and how you get actually your hands on the knowledge that Thorsten kind of created in order to build your own, which is really easy to do, but kind of still. Now, can you somehow maybe walk us through the process when you built your first rig, and that moment where you suddenly kind of felt, you already alluded to that a little, but that moment where I suddenly felt, hey, that actually works. Kind of, what was the feeling?
That was like remembered me on the days when I was a little boy, and I got my Christmas presents. It's really it's that exciting. So in the beginning, I was using this Ambisonic book from Zotter and Matthias Frank, and I had it on my lap, and I was moving around the microphones. Actually, there were large condenser microphones, because I didn't have enough figure of 8 microphones at hand at that time. And I was putting all the things together and connected it to my 4-track handheld recorder. And then I said, okay, now it's time to prove if I set it up correctly and if anything is as it should be. I pressed record and recorded some speech. I made some funny jokes and walking around, and that was it. And the most exciting moment was when I transferred these recordings into my DAW, into Reaper, and I used the plugins and put on my headphones and switched to render down to binaural. And then I was able to hear me walking around the system. I really had the impression that I was talking from behind. Really, somebody is standing behind me and is talking to me. And also, that is not that unusual. We know this from the artificial heads since the 1930s, 1940s. But also have the information of height, right? So if you put yourself down and you're talking upwards to a microphone and also stand up and on a ladder and talk from ups from up a little bit upper side, you can hear that. And I also could hear myself climbing up the stairs of a ladder. So I call it calling stairways to heaven. And it's really like somebody is talking from up above to you. Somebody is standing in a different floor and it's talking to you. It's so amazing. And that was just first order of our Ambisonic. That is, as we all know, it's not that good in giving you information about direction and yeah, where the people are exactly standing. It's more like a ambience. It's more like a surrounding. It's not exactly talking from the front left or from the back right or whatever it is, but it was so amazing.
I mean, you still, kind of people who are watching this, in case you are listening to it, you can't see how exactly Thorsten actually gets when he talks about it, which is, and kind of, it's something I think that a lot of people experience, especially if they build these systems yourself, and you not only building like first order, you're actually going beyond that, right? I mean, it's sort of, you're trying to also mimic higher order, which is really interesting. Now, one of the things that you mentioned to me is that you are really interested in when you're talking about recording, also recording really unusual things and unique sounds. And how do you think Ambisonics as a technology is better suited to record these types of sounds as, for example, stereo?
I know what you're heading for. So I was had the big honor to being allowed to record the IBM quantum computer, and that was kind of a very different experience. I was expecting a lot of new noises and new sounds, and actually all I was able to hear was a little pumping the liquid helium inside of it, and there was nothing. There was only science. It was kind of disappointing. but then they took me to the IBM lab where they built this mainframe computers, and there was a lot of sound going on, and when you enter it's like a lot of noise is going around, and a lot of people doing something, building something, and there's this very special, unique atmosphere in there. And I was allowed to put one of my little Ambisonic systems on top of one of the mainframes and press record. And then we went for lunch. And when we came back, I put this little unit back into my pocket. And later on, I discovered you really have this unique surrounding ambience you won't get with just stereo. Stereo is fine for certain purposes, and I still do a lot of stereo and also mono recordings. A little bit later on, I was allowed to do some recordings in the IBM historical museums, recording mainframes that are even older than me. And sometimes it's so nice. They have the little switches to switch power on, or little other switches to switch this mainframe into a certain mode, or little buttons to push. And it was so amazing. Of course, you record this by mono, and then the art is to put it back into this ambience I recorded with a third order Ambisonics microphone to have a better directivity, to have more information where the systems are currently working and what people are doing there. So the greatest thing was when the old man was able to put his mainframe into a certain operating mode, and all of a sudden the chain printer behind us was printing something, and that was like screaming of a dragon or something. It was so cool, and Of course, that I've recorded with a regular stereo microphone, with a mid-side microphone, and you can hear the head of the print. No, not really a head, but you can hear the paper shifting upwards, and this chain is really printing one row at a time. It's crazy, crazy.
That's cool. I'm actually not surprised that sort of you didn't hear much from the quantum computer. I mean, it essentially kind of, this chandelier that kind of is usually shown is just a cooling system, so it's probably just a pump that you hear, and that can't be particularly loud because
was so disappointed.
Right. Essentially, if it would be loud, it would mean it would generate a lot of heat, and that's probably not something you want to do in a system that needs to cool down to almost zero. It's actually quite interesting. How did you manage to get access to that? I'm just curious.
There was because of a good relationship to the people from the IBM lab in Germany. I was working for Red Hat then, and there was a good connection because I know these guys, and they were. I talked to them about my passion, Ambisonic, and I said, why not going there? And once you're over there, maybe you can ask the guys there and in the IBM mainframe factory if you're allowed to do some recordings. And I kindly asked and got permission right away. I was surprised myself. It was so easy. I think it would be a little bit more difficult to get permission if you're not an employee of the IBM family.
No, I probably, kind of, I get that there needs to be some sort of connection, right? I mean, they don't just let anybody in, obviously. But I think if you have that connection, sometimes the best thing is just to ask.
Yeah, it's always, and for a little other recordings in my hometown in Cologne, I asked for permission to record the trams going around. That they go in underground and on ground, and sometimes the same tram is going from upper ground to underground, and I was allowed to do some recordings there. It was also very amazing, very different different sounds, but kind of an unusual. And that was one of the advantages to have an Ambisonic recorder with a recording system with me. As a comparison, I did some stereo recording, and that was nice, but not as nice as an Ambisonic.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, I'm kind of curious. Ambisonics is not always the best choice, right? So sometimes you want to use different systems, and you're actually experimenting with a couple of different surround setups. I think you even have like a setup where you can record natively the 7.1.4 for Adobe Atmos or something like that, or at least you're kind of working on that.
Yeah, it's the guys at Dolby Laboratories are very exactly if it comes to mentioning something that is compatible with their systems. So I keep saying this is inspired by the 7.1 setup they do with their regular system.
But I think there's nothing wrong with saying it's 7.1.4, right? I mean, it's or 7.1.2 or whatever it is, right? I mean, there's you can use that for Dolby Atmos. It's not Dolby Atmos, obviously. It's just 7.1.4. But sort of the question is, can you kind of give us some idea of when it is good to use like an Ambisonics approach, or when it is good to use more of a surround sound approach?
So what I like first order Ambisonic for in the most situation, if you want to have an ambience, if for example in a radio play, right, if a scene is happening somewhere in the forest, you do not want exactly hear where the bird is singing or where some animals is walking around in the forest. You just want to hear forest, right? And that is why when you say, okay, first order Ambisonic, it's good enough. Press a record, and then off you go with a regular 4-channel handheld recorder. That's an easy job to do. But for example, when I was recording a little folk band, they did 2 or 3 songs for a demo, and they're standing outside somewhere in the middle of nowhere. So that is not good if you're recording height information, because that may distract people's attention. So I used a regular, removed the Z microphone from this first order ambisonic, and just recording X, Y, and W. And that was, more precise. So you really could focus on the music. And as an alternative, I tried this double MS system, where you have two MS, one pointing to the front, the other one to the back. And there's a great plugin you can get for free if you look for DMS plugin. Mr. Google will tell you. And it's so amazing. You can do 5.0 out of this plugin, and if you are a little bit into how to create a low frequency extension, an LFE, it's no rocket science. You can have 5.1 ITU or whatever you want to have. It's quite easy to do.
And my feeling is that because you're working with a system that you more or less built yourself, you can actually reconfigure that, right? I mean, it's
Yes.
so it's not like that you need like a microphone for this and a microphone for that and a microphone for that. You sort of have almost like a kind of a kind of like a little construction set where you can construct the different types of microphones that you need based on the individual components that you have, which I think is really interesting. So if you need like a double MS kind of setup, then you simply reconfigure everything and you have that, right?
The truth is, I have a little not so little backpack anymore, but it's a little bit bigger backpack currently. I discovered it when I as a backpack for photographers, right? They use it to carry their lenses and cameras, and said, hey, whatever they carry in there, I can carry all my recording stuff in there, microphones, recorders, cables, whatever it is needed. Always make sure that your batteries are charged completely if you're out of the fields. That's a pity. If you want to record something and the battery says, no, not today. What you said is absolutely true. I have a set of gear with me where I can build certain systems. And I'm be honest with you, I have a little cheat sheet on my mobile, because I built so many systems meanwhile. I have a little picture or some little description how to build it, because if you're in the middle of nowhere and you forgot about a detail, that may take you quite long to rethink it and to reinvent it, so to say. And that is, good if you have a little picture, you know what to do, with which pipes to use, which screws you want to use, and which microphones to use. That's nice.
So if you're on location and you suddenly realize, hey, a different setup would be nice, you just reconfigure everything.
Of course, yeah. If that example I just mentioned with the folk band, I went there with a first order Ambisonic microphone setup, and I said, no, it's not good. It's distracting people's attention to the whatever is going up there in sky, a little wind, a little bird flying around, something. And I just removed the Z microphone. Anything works much better, and it sounded much better. And that is cool. If you have all the gear with you, a set of gear that enables you to choose whatever is suitable for the situation. Because sometimes things sound different than you expected. And sometimes you find something in the middle of nowhere. When I was doing double mid-side recording, and all of a sudden a flock of sparrows landed in the tree just above me, and I was not able to record it. And then I used my built-in microphones of the handheld recorder, just put it upwards, and so I was able to record the birds in stereo. And now I have a recording with 5.1 for the horizontal plane, and also the stereo for the sparrows up in the tree. And later on in post and in my DAW, I mixed it, aligned it timely, and it really, yeah, it is, of course. It is not really ambisonic, and it is
Yeah.
not really sounding really surrounding. But with the encoders, with the ambisonic encoders, I was able to put it into the position and then rendered it to first or second order of ambisonic. And yeah, of course, you really were able to hear the birds singing up there in a tree. That's so amazing.
That's
That
very,
is good if you know what to do.
yeah, no, that's very cool. And as we said before, kind of you're going to give people access to that knowledge, right? So it's something we're going to talk about later. So people can actually have these kind of kind of blueprints of these microphones,
sure.
right? Now, for people who are starting out, kind of one of the things obviously is that there can be things that go wrong. And you kind of explained to me a story where you had a very painful moment at the Golden Gate Bridge. And can you maybe explain what happened there? And so that people kind of learn, right? I mean, we want to learn from your experience.
Yeah, but that actually was one of the most painful moments in my sound career. But let me start first with some very important advice. You are not allowed to do any recordings on the Golden Gate Bridge without permission. You will get into really deep trouble if you do it without permission. It's very easy to get. You write an email and ask for permission to the Golden Gate Bridge authorities. They are very supportive, very friendly, and if you ask upfront for permission, it's no big deal. Just make sure you have a copy of it in your pocket when you are in the middle of the Golden Gate Bridge, because this place is known for not so pleasant things also. And that is why they ask you to ask for permission. Then it's no big deal at all. But I was prepared. I got permission. I got there and got my first order Ambisonic microphone with the native B format with me. And there was also a challenge to get it through customs, because the small microphones appeared like dynamite pipes to them. So that was the first challenge. And then I underestimated the wind on the Golden Gate Bridge. It's unfortunately it was quite windy, and because you're high up over the sea, and that makes the wind even stronger. So the problem with any recording outside, you have three main enemies. One is wind, the other is rain, and the third is empty batteries. But the batteries were fine. There was no rain, but there was heavy wind, and the wind protection I have with me was not good enough to prevent the wind from getting through and ruin any part of the recording. All you hear is wind noise, and that was all. So that's not kind of what I would call a success. But it in the end, when I flew back to Germany, I was thinking how to set up, how to build such a wind protection that really keeps off heavy wind. And that is one of the projects I'm currently working on. It's getting better. And I got a lot of feedback when I'm talking to the vendors of wind protections, and they were also very kind and very curious. I said, "What are you doing there? 4 microphones in one wind protection? Are you crazy?" And yes, but it's getting better over time, and I think now it's version 7 currently I'm working on, and actually. It would not work on the Golden Gate Bridge, but getting close.
And I think you when we talk about the Golden Gate Bridge, I think you recorded from the observation kind of this. I think
that is the only place where I was allowed to make pictures.
Okay.
I was allowed to do the recording in the middle of the bridge.
Oh, okay.
So if you're recording on either side of end of the Golden Gate Bridge, no problem at all. Mm-hmm. But if you are standing in the middle of the bridge,
You're not.
and you stand there for more than 5 seconds.
People getting nervous. That's true. If you stand there for a little time, people get nervous. Yes, that's true. Yeah, because I was thinking, because that kind of that observation area, that was a former military base, right? I mean, it's
ages ago.
Yeah, ages ago. I still remember kind of when I first kind of went there. There was almost nothing there. It was actually quite interesting. Now it's a real touristy area, right? There's a lot of tourists.
Yeah, I remember when I was first time I was in San Francisco. The Presidio area was still in service, and I didn't know that this. And I was walking through there with my bag for my camera, small bag with my camera inside of it. And I was walking through there. And nobody stopped me. There was no post, no guard, no anything. I just walked through there. And later I found out that I walked over a military place with a camera in my pocket.
I remember driving in there at that time. It's sort of, kind of, it's now really touristy. So it doesn't have the same kind of flair anymore that it used to have.
But it's also good if you challenge yourself. I just discovered by curiosity that there was a longer pipe of iron laying into the Rhine River, and I just attached my geophone onto it with a magnet and just recorded.
Yeah,
and I was able to hear the propellers of the ships passing by.
Oh, interesting.
You don't need an hydrophonic microphone. I built it myself with a pipe of iron and a contact microphone.
Yeah, cool. So
of course, it's not as good as a hydrophonic microphones. Yes, but it's good enough.
Yeah. So we learn, be resourceful, and don't let any negative experiences distract you, because those are all learning experiences, right?
Of course, and but I will repeat it once I get the wind protection ready. Be sure I will be there, and I promised the guy from the Golden Gate Bridge authorities I will come back once I have the right wind protection, and I will do the recording with the ships going under my feet and the cars behind me or driving over the Golden Gate Bridge. I'll be there.
We are looking forward. Now, you are pointing out, or you have pointed out quite often to me, that it is quite difficult to find an affordable figure of 8 microphone, and you propose a very versatile and quite cheap solution, using just 4 microphones. Could you maybe explain that setup so that we have a bit of an understanding about how that actually looks like?
Yeah, so the problem was to find an affordable figure of 8 small diaphragm condenser microphone. Of course, there are great microphones out there you can buy for a lot of money, and they are, on my dream list. But until then, I have to work with what is at stock. And the idea is, how is a figure of 8 microphone working? You have one sensitivity to the left and another sensitivity to the right. Yeah, what is the story about having 2 regular cardioid microphones pointing at each other, and you have to route it differently in your DAW later on, right? You make one cardioid become the left side of your figure of 8 virtual figure of 8 microphone, and the other becomes the negative side of your figure of 8 microphone, and then you can build a subgroup and direct it to the plugin I mentioned earlier on, and off you go. It was no big deal. The main thing was to understand how certain microphone patterns work and how to rebuild them. The doing itself later on was just adding some more screws and a little more pipe and then other cable and activate another channel in the handheld recorder. That was not the thing. The thing is to understand how things work and how to rebuild it with the things you have at stock.
So the challenge was really kind of understanding the technical aspects of how these microphones
Yes.
work, and then kind of using the knowledge about how to actually build the configuration in
Yes.
order to convert sort of these patterns that these microphones have into a bigger pattern that you actually need, right? So that
Yeah. It's the same applies. You can do kind of two-dimension first order ambisonic with just regular um, cardioid small diaphragm condensers. You can do that. It's so easy. It's so if you know what to do and how to route the signals in later on in post, that is a little bit not self-explaining. It's a little
yeah
bit kind of knowledge
yeah
you need to have.
that's
But in when you refer to the great book of Ambisonics, the Ambisonics Bible, as I mentioned it, they also show you some figures how to do that. It's not difficult. You can do it with a regular analog mixing console, no problem.
yeah yeah
And with the DAW, it's just a question of some mouse clicks.
yeah
It's no rocket
yeah.
science if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting because this was probably one of my first mistakes that I ever made. I remember that when I got into Ambisonics, I was always talking about these virtual microphone patterns, and I think at the very beginning I kind of constantly said that you can't recreate those with real microphones, but
Uh,
apparently you can.
yeah, actually, you can. You can. You know. I was wondering. I was really wanted to have my own artificial head. The one that is available and is kind of the reference costs you about eight and a half thousand US
Yeah. So
dollars.
so binaural recording head, right?
Yeah, it's great. Period. No doubt about it.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's not in my budget.
yeah.
So what I bought were two little small condenser microphones with Omni characteristic, and I bought an acrylic sphere at a crafting store for €5,
Yeah.
$5.
I'm actually going
Nothing.
to show a picture of that.
Yeah,
You kind of send me a
and
picture. So while we are talking, I'm going to kind of have that in the
yeah,
screen.
and what I put some damping bowl inside it, and then I discovered an article about a very special microphone system that has been invented by Jerry Brook, and that is kind of amazing. They put, he said put some figure of eight microphones just close to the ears. I really used silicon ears for my system. Put them close to them, and then depending on the volume of the figure of eight recordings you do, you can change patterns virtual patterns. You can change from Omni, you can down up to a figure of eight, and all that lies in between a wide cardioid, a hypocardioid, or hypercardioid, or supercardioid, whatever is on your demand. And with this little configuration, you can derive a 5.1 setup from that. And that has been invented in the early 2000, 2002, or 2006. And, I really stumbled upon this article from a very well-known German microphone manufacturer. And actually, they built it and sold it. They didn't sell much of these units, but it's so easy to do. It doesn't cost you much. The most expensive thing on this setup were the figure of eight microphones, and in the acrylic sphere, yes, as I mentioned, just a few bucks. The cloth inside, another $2, and drilling some holes, and the silicon ears I bought are from jewelry store, actually, where they sell ear stickers, and I got this for $5, $6, whatever. Nothing. It's not really nothing. Not zero money, but it's just a few money. And Yeah, and then you stick it with regular glue, or if you have it at hand, some silicone, you attach it to it and you drill a hole inside the ear, and there you put your microphones in it, and off you go. And yeah.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting. And once again, we're going to show some pictures here. We said that we couldn't really kind of name the manufacturer because that would probably be an issue with trademarks. You know, kind of YouTube these days is a little critical when it comes to these things. But because you're essentially rebuilding that system, even though that system is no longer sold, I think, right? So that has been discontinued. And it's really interesting, sort of how resourceful you are in terms of creating these systems. You know, I think that's really quite remarkable. Now,
thank you.
Because we have been talking about a lot actually about making your knowledge accessible. So let's finally talk about your project, Ambisonic.studio. So what is it, and what can people expect to get from there?
Yeah, the name Ambisonic Studio, has been invented by accident, so to say. I was looking for a domain containing Ambisonic somehow, and a lot of domains already have been occupied, and one of them was Ambisonic.studio. And I said, hey, that's cool. I want to have a studio, and it will have to do with, will deal with Ambisonic. Why not? Call it Ambisonic.studio. Now it has been invented this way. And what can people expect to find there? I'm not selling pre-built systems in any kind. Because that is difficult. If you sell it to different nations or different countries, different rules, different laws apply, and I'm already busy in inventing systems and already busy in doing my regular daily job, and so I'm sharing my knowledge. I say we grow when we share, and I have the great opportunity and honor to learn from very skilled and very capable people from doing sound in any way. Most of the knowledge I gained is by listening and talking to people and see what they are doing. And now it's time for me to give a little bit back. And what I will provide is it's kind of tutorials. I just started doing tutorials because it take some time to build them, to take all the pictures. Sometimes it's much easier to just show a picture than to tell you what to do in 1,000 words. But that takes time. And what I also want to do is explain why I do this. Not in a different way. For example, the virtual figure of 8 microphones built from 2 regular cardioid microphones. So that is not, everybody's cup of tea. That is hard to know if you're not into very much of the details about how microphone patterns are built and how anything about this will work. And I try to explain it in plain English, not too much 19-inch talks. And also, if you're coming there and like what you see, on certain points, I will offer you that you buy me a coffee, and send if you have, and if you like, then you can send me some money, because running the website costs a little bit money, and also building things up and doing things or buying some additional stuff here and there also costs a little bit money. You do not have to, but I'm pleased if you do.
So that's actually really great. So you're making your knowledge available for free, and you're kind of asking for people to kind of give back a little if they can, right? So if you're, for example, if you're a student out there that essentially doesn't have the resources, you can simply go there and
Sure.
but if you have the resources, and I think these things are always appreciated, because I completely empathize with you. These things actually cost money, right? It's like for me, running this YouTube channel also actually kind of, I need to spend more money than it actually brings in, but kind of you do these things for fun and you try to give things
Yeah.
back. And
But
there's a lot of really interesting knowledge that you've created over the last couple of years that I think a lot of people will be very excited to learn and to build these systems.
yeah, and also it's not a one-way street, right? If you discover something, or if you take one of my tutorials and you build your systems yourself, and you you find something that could be done better or in a different way that gives you more opportunities or more capabilities or using the system, feedback is always welcome, of course. That's the fuel for my innovation. If you get feedback, and then sometimes if I show my new inventions or new build systems to my colleagues or friends, also you have to do with sound in certain ways, they give me feedback and say, "Hey, your ORTF 3D system, it doesn't really sound good. So there's something wrong with it." And then I sent them a picture and I said, "Yeah, your upper level and your lower level are too far away from each other. Put them closer together." And that was just an easy job, exchanging a pipe, and then redo the recording. And then I said, "Yeah, that's great. That is how it should sound." And that is how I get better by
Yeah, that's
getting
actually true,
feedbacks.
and I can fully attest to that. I think I learned more about doing this, about audio, doing this YouTube channel than anything else. It's something that people underestimate, and it's also something that a lot of people have really a hard time to appreciate. Because they think of this like a one-way kind of stream where they go to you or to me and then essentially get information out of there. But it's actually almost as important to also give feedback and to kind of build a community to some extent that
Yeah.
sort of kind
So
of develops
yeah,
that.
but what you always, but please bear with me if I'm not being very responsive. I'm doing this in my spare very little free time. Um, if it may happen that I will respond in a week or 2 weeks time. That is not that I'm neglecting you. That is just maybe I'm just tinkering around and didn't have enough time to read my emails, or I'm just out there in the fields recording something, or yeah, just having a good time laying on the sofa.
It's kind of really, we
Yeah,
live in a time where
it's it's not a kind of a business anyway.
yeah.
I was thinking about like you do with your great videos, doing some videos, and then I just started and I said, "Oh my gosh, that's a lot of work." And um, if you doing all yourself, you being your camera guy, you are your own lightener, your
Yeah.
own scripter, inventing scripts, and also have to think about how to set up the system in a way people can understand it, what you're doing. Holy cow! And I said, well, in the end it was a almost 2 minute video, and it took me 8 or 9 days. I said, no, no, please, please,
Yeah,
no,
you
no.
can kind of you can optimize the workflow, right? So what I'm doing,
Of
I
course.
usually need a day for a video, right? So that's what I usually need. But one thing that I couldn't do, for example, is like this professional quality editing. Kind of you could say, well, then hire somebody, but kind of then
No.
people. I think people completely overestimate how much money these channels make, right? So it's not just not something
No.
that is in the cards. So it becomes. I personally I decided to make this almost like a brand kind of thing, that that's just me, right? So it's sort of this minimal editing, really, with me being in there constantly, and sort of that kind of creates a particular kind of group of people who are interested in that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Creating a video is actually quite difficult to do, and quite frankly, also not really necessary for many things, right? So if somebody wants to build a microphone, so once again, you're kind of it's also quite often that people in the moment need that particular information, and then a video channel, a YouTube channel is a little bit more is a little different, because you constantly have to produce something, right? Whereas if you just provide the information about how to build things, you can build it online and people can get it at the moment where they need it, right?
And also, if you're in the middle of the field, and you remember what we just said, and you went out with system A, and you discover, oh, maybe I need system B, which gives me more opportunities, or will capture the sound in a better way. How actually was this set up and how to build this system B? And then you look up in your mobile and you just download a PDF or a small tutorial I will provide. And then you have anything at your fingertips. You could put your mobile, and you screw together your pipes and tubes and whatever is there in a different way. And then you set up the system. That's much easier than downloading a YouTube video that may take ages, or you will not be able to download it at all because the bandwidth of your mobile is limited, or you have a bad connection. It's easier to download the PDF, and then you have anything with some pictures, with the important crossings where you know what to do, which part to screw there, and it's easier for me to build. It's easier for you to use, and in the end, what it really counts is, does it sound good?
Yeah.
And I like the way to share the knowledge and hear great recordings from people they do. And I would really, really, really love if people would share their recordings with me. And of course, you can mention it. This is for my ears only, just for my joy. Or you say, okay, that is publicly available. I'm thinking of providing some of my recordings I've done, and to give the people an idea how the systems sound, or what kind of sound or atmospheres or ambiences you can capture with. So just to give you an impression, to give you an idea of how it will sound later on when you've done your recordings and create anything in post. And just for the completion, I was looking for higher order microphones, and there's one vendor that sells something that is very cool, very nifty and quite handy, but far, far away from what I may ever call a budget. And then I came across some master theses, and they show how to build a seventh order microphone with affordable microphone capsules. And there's one version that costs, it's called HOSMA, HOSMA. If you look it up in the internet, you will find it. And also add the University of Applied Science Cologne to it, so you will easier find it. And of course, later on, there will be a link on my site to guide you to that. And they did it, and they really made a really great system. I was once able to listen to it, but it's heavy. I mean, it's really heavy. You almost need two people to carry it around. And the other thing, it's even more expensive. they said, actually, if you would have paid the regular prices, that will have the cost point of about 350,000 euros.
Yeah.
No, 35, no, too much zeros, 35,000 euros.
Well, it's still a lot, right?
Yeah, it's more than most people earn in a year.
Seventh order, that requires a lot of microphones, right?
Yes. 64.
64 microphones. Okay.
So and currently somebody actually in the IEM also he did it with much more affordable microphone capsules. I think they are electrate capsules, and what he also does is converting the signals right after the capsules into digital signals. Unfortunately, they were not able to get in touch with the Dante group to provide a Dante connection. So it just would have been easy. The Dante is a worldwide standardized digital audio connection, and you could just connect it and off you go. But it didn't work.
So still a lot of possibilities for people to tinker and to get started, and the best way to get started is by going to Ambisonic.studio and finding out what Thorsten has done and then rebuild it. And I can highly recommend that. And if you want to, you said that you're not always available, but one way that you guys out there can also participate is simply signing up for our Discord server. We have a couple of people actually who are working with microphones, so if Thorsten is not available, there might be somebody else who can answer.
Of course.
And that is always appreciated. It's a very, very kind of good community and a lot of really, really highly knowledgeable people there. And we've already come to the end of our little interview. Thank you so much, Thorsten, for being available. And this was super interesting. And maybe we kind of do that again once you have a 7th order Ambisonics microphone.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, I'm very curious how that may produce different soundscapes.
Yeah,
really, if there will maybe in a couple of years when I will retire, maybe then I have enough time to build it.
Okay, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. Okay, see you.
Well, that's everything for today. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comment section below or join a free Discord server where you can also chat with Thorsten. The invite link is in the description. And don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on all things Dolby Atmos and immersive audio. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.